Hello and welcome again to Viewpoint. My name's Ian Beaumont. Thank you very much for joining us today. I had planned to talk a little more about the Irish local and European elections, but something happened today to bring me back this side of the Irish Sea. I got a little communication, like this one, from the Conservative Party. And I'll cover the address. Just notice something, how they have adapted. I don't know if you can see that. That's a little better. Vote for change. They've adapted the old Obama strategy of highlighting the word change to see if it can work the magic on them. But in the middle, in through all this, there's this big blurb. Look at it all. Right about that. And I'm sorry, I read through it, and some of it really needs fact checking. So, it's time to do something I've been preparing for a while on these video commentaries. And to resume a role I've used on a blog elsewhere before, and that is the role of the TruthSeeker. The headline here on this says it's time for change. Well, that's debatable. But the subheadline is the interesting part. Let me read it to you. The government has brought Britain to the brink of economic collapse, and the country is crying out for change. But can David Cameron's Conservatives really make a difference? We ask the man himself. The first sentence is the bit I want you to concentrate on. The government has brought Britain to the brink of economic collapse. Wrong. That is total fallacy. False. Not true. You actually look back over how this whole economic crisis came about. The roots of it go back to 2007, back to America, and to a little housing crisis over subprime mortgages. That's where the roots of all this started. It was back then. It was then that credit started to fall away. You know, lenders were not offering as much credit, and gradually things tightened and tightened and tightened. And it tightened to a degree that the banks basically started doing a run on each other. They wouldn't lend to each other. So you started seeing banks collapse. Investment bankers, regular banks, all, and this started spreading across the world. It was a contagion. It was a contagion that really gathered pace during 2008. That's what led us into this economic collapse state that this world has been finding itself in. It has had nothing to do with the policies of the Labour government. It has had nothing to do with the policies of any government anywhere in the world. Except maybe the fact that the American government allowed it to get so bad. But it wasn't directly through, some liberals will claim it was directly through their policies. Well, maybe the policies allowed it to happen, but it wouldn't necessarily have happened. But it did. So it has happened. It is the fault of forces on the other side of the Atlantic. It has nothing to do with what our government has done in the UK on this side of the Atlantic. So I'm afraid, vote for change? It's just the same old lies coming from the right-wing spin doctors as usual. And the other thing they talk about here is, on this one, working for you in Cornwall. Cornwall's where I live. Except that the team of MEPs has nothing to do with Cornwall. Well, not in that sense. The MEP structure is done regionally, so there's 6 MEPs for the Southwest. One of these is Giles Chichester, who's a Conservative. There are 5 other candidates standing with him. Julie Girling, Ashley Fox, Mike Dolly, Don Collier, and Zehra Zaidi. I'm glad I managed to get through that. But basically, they've said Cornwall has suffered from poor decisions made by Liberal Democrat councils, the Labour government, and in Europe. Decisions that have a devastating effect on jobs, the local economy, the Cornish way of life. Only Conservatives offer a strong team to represent Cornwall at every level of government. Rubbish. Conservatives are not the only choice out there. There are plenty of others. You may not like the fact that the Liberal Democrats didn't listen when they converted the old two-tier structure into a single council, a unitary authority. But those unitary authorities stretch back a long, long way. The whole concept of unitary authorities was dreamed up by, you guessed it, the Conservatives. It was a Conservative policy change. Came about first in the 1994 local elections under a Conservative government. I've never forgiven the Conservatives for what they've done to the media in this country. And to be honest, I never will. MEPs in Europe work for a southwest region. They do not work for Cornwall. Not in that sense. And the MPs at Westminster, well, they're not thinking about Cornwall, they're thinking about the UK or England, Wales. It's not, the only level of government where things are working for Cornwall, for the people of Cornwall from Cornwall, is at the council level. And of course all that's changing this time around. The unitary authority, brought in by the Conservatives and acted upon by the Liberal Democrats this time, and perhaps the most unpopular decision the Liberal Democrats have ever made. And yet it will probably be the Conservatives that will benefit most. Sometimes when you look at the facts, as the TruthSeeker does, they just don't add up in terms of what some people want you to do. Remember, the truth will out. Truth will always come out. And I'm one of those that will make sure it does. That's Viewpoint for today. I am Ian Beaumont, the TruthSeeker. Stay sharp, stay tuned. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.